Cryonic suspension. Now, this is something that we've been asked a couple of times at Cardiff Theosophical Society what we think of it. I'll say a few words. Okay, cryonic suspension, as I understand it, is the preservation of the human body, but after death. It is not an open-ended form of life support. So the people actually in cryonic suspension are actually dead. Now, there may be an argument that the body is preserved in a certain way that people are not, strictly speaking, dead, but I think as it stands, up to now everybody who's gone into cryonic suspension is actually dead. That's the first thing. Now, there's certain assumptions you're making when you sign up for cryonic suspension. They say that a cure may be available for your disease in the future. Well, that's easily possible. That's the easy bit. That whatever you've died of, they'll be able to cure it. Whether they can actually reverse the effects of the disease, that also, I think, is possible. Even reverse the effects of aging will be reversing the effects of aging will be possible at some point in the future. There's the other questions you need to ask about making a comeback. Can you be revived? Actually, I won't use the word revived, I'll say reanimated, because I don't think they actually would. You would be revived, you would be reanimated. Will that be possible? The other assumption being made is that our technological civilization is going to last for a very long time. That's not entirely certain. There's the Mad Max movies, possibly civilization could go into a dark age. That may happen. It's happened in the past, could happen in the future. I don't think our civilization, our technological civilization, is immune to that. And also, something else to think about, will they want people to come back in the future? Would that, the idea of people being revived, or said revived, reanimated, or brought back from the past, will that be convenient in the future? And will they put a block on it and allow it to happen? And just keep people either in deep freeze forever or pull the plug on them. That could well happen at some point in the future. The idea that you're coming back, now I believe that at some point in the future it will be possible to reanimate the human body and, more importantly, the human brain. I think that will be possible in the future, and it may well be possible to bring people out of cryonic suspension and reanimate them. And that may be apparently quite spectacular at some point in the future. They'll say they've done it, and this may be a very exciting thing for science. However, Theosophy maintains that the human aggregate consists of several non-physical principles. Now, in addition to the physical body, we have the emotional body, the mental body, and sort of higher principles, but specifically the emotional and mental part of man. And Theosophy maintains that these leave the physical body at death, and they dissolve away in the spirit realm known as karma loka, and that after that process is complete, one goes into the second death, Devacharna state of bliss, prior to rebirth in the cycle of death and rebirth. Now, in the karma lokic phase, it is possible through sales mediumship and that to contact an essence or a shell, or whatever you want to call it, of the personality of the deceased. Although you're not actually contacting the real person, the personality dissolves. The true individual spiritual entity moves on, and it leaves a remnant of the personality. And mediums have contacted people and apparently appear to have revived the presence of a person, a deceased person, messages from beyond the grave. Yes, but these are coming from, not from the person, from an essence of the person that's left behind in the spirit realm. Now, I think that with cryonic suspension, it will be possible to reanimate, well, most importantly, the human brain, and it will recreate a shadow of the person. The actual spiritual entity of the person moved on probably centuries ago and is re-engaged in the cycle of death and rebirth, and that the entity revived is in fact really I mean, you could say the word soulless being. I'm not sure that could be used to describe it, but it would have the appearance and essence of the person, but it would not be the true person themselves. And the effect of reanimation, that really is only something we can speculate on as to how, say, someone who'd been technically dead for, say, 300 years, firstly how they would respond to being brought back, and also what their behaviour would be like without what we refer to in Theosophy as the non-physical principles in man. They just wouldn't be there. So the type of being that's revived, difficult to imagine what that would be like. Also, the being revived as well would be possibly, say, if this did happen several, and I think it's possible, if it did happen several hundred years in the future, it would be completely disorientated and would have to be re-educated. Be tremendous amount of assimilation into the society, a society of the future, and that in addition to the fact that there probably would be no spiritual side to the being, that you basically just reanimated tissue, and what you have is almost a recording of the personality. How that would work out, I can't really speculate on that. And this may be something that a future society has to deal with, if, and I think it probably will happen, if they do eventually bring people out of cryonic suspension. I think that covers it for cryonic suspension this afternoon.